Hey guys, and welcome to the last part of Under Construction. Let's make odd bunnies. So last week I told you guys that I was going to do one more part where I'm going to do a general tidy up, and I've been playing around with the project to see if there are any leftover bits, and I did find a couple of little bugs, not bugs, but just things that I forgot to do. And there was one thing I wanted to add to make things a little bit nicer. Now, as you see on the main page here, I've moved the title down a little bit. None of this is really all that important. It's really just, what suits you and how you feel things look right. But let's just go to the game scene, and we're just going to copy this, go Command C, this text score, and we're going to go to the menu. And no, we're not going to lock it. I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, so to paste in place, you can go Command Shift and V, and that will paste in place. I've got the cursor showing again, so I'm just going to press Escape so it doesn't happen again. Now, I'm going to clone this. Really shouldn't have pasted it in place then, should I? All right, so we're just going to move this away. So what are the coordinates? Just to 224.16. Let's just change this around to 224.16. So the reason we're cloning it is because this one is going to be called text score last. Now, over here you see that in the game project we are setting the score. Where is it? Set text to score. So when we're playing the game, every time, let's just demonstrate, every time you tap the bunny, the correct one gets added. Obviously we've got sound effects as well, but I've got this plugged in, so you guys might not hear them, so I'm just gonna take it out. So we've got sound effects, everything's working. So that's two. Now on the main page, I want this to be separate, otherwise they will interfere with each other. So this one is now called, like I said, text score last, and that line here, we're just going to copy that. So Command C, and we're going to go into our e-command sheet. Now the reason I'm going to do this in the e-command sheet is because I don't have enough events left to do this in the 25 event limit, and also so I don't have enough events left to add another condition. So I'm just going to do it over here. Now the reason I want to make sure, let's just change this first, replace object, and we're going to go text score last. And so at the start of layout, because this has been included over here, it's going to set text score last, which is this one here, to whatever score is, and but it's not going to interfere with the one in the game. So the reason I want to fit this into the 25 event limit is because I feel like I want to try and make the barrier for people trying the software as low as possible. I know that a lot of people don't like registering for things. Now, just as a pointer, and I might have not mentioned this before, if you do register for Construct, you don't have to pay for it. You just have to register as a user. On the side, you do actually get 50 events, which is double of what we're using here. To be honest, it's completely worth it because there is absolutely no downsides to being registered, and 50 events, in my view, for learning, you can make a pretty decent game. This is a pretty small game, sorry guys, still getting over a little bit of a cold. This is a pretty small game. Now it's playable, everything works, but like, let's say you could double the amount of stuff that's going on, which is pretty amazing. So, and that's all free, Now you can monetize it if you don't buy the full version, but that's besides the point. If you are trying to learn, and if that's your main reason for, just playing around with the software, just to give it a go, try and see how it feels, is it right for you, then this is perfect. And I really do think that registering to give yourself a little bit more freedom is definitely a good idea. So we've done that. Now what we're going to do now is copy this one more time. So clone object type, and I'm just going to call this one text score title. Now I just the reason I'm copying them is because that's like a lazy way of making another instance without having to go and create a new text object and selecting the font again, so it just makes it quick. So I'm going to take this down to 12, make it tiny. I'm going to type in score last. That's all I'm going to type in, last. Yep. And now I'm just going to minimize this to what it needs to be, so it doesn't need to be any bigger than that, the box, and we're just going to put it down here. Okay, so let's just go C to center it, and now because this has got the same, so cloning the object really helps because I've got behaviors attached to it, for example this one here. So now when we run the menu, we've got this little thing here, and if we resize the screen, so if I move this up and down, as you see, it's always going to stay at the top of the screen, so that's really nice. And it's never going to interfere with the title because of where it is. And yeah, so let's just give it a go, play the game. Just turn down the volume a little bit, and let's see what happens. So we've got that, we've scored 1. Let's go back, and it shows us we scored 1. Now if you go back into the game, it should show us 0 again. Okay, and if I go back, it's gonna say 0 because it always keeps track of the last score. Now I could also add a thing where it goes last score and best score on the main menu. However, again, I would have to add more events and a condition checking if the current score is more than the best score, then you display that one, and so on. So it would just make it a little bit more complicated, and again we would need more events, but it's very easy to do. So right now we've got this, and we can use the same title for the game. We don't need it in here, but let's just, for the sake of consistency, just gonna check it here as well, and over here I'm just gonna say score instead of last. Okay, there you go. So now we should have both of the titles up, so last, and over here it just says score, and you can go back. Now we're done with that, so that is working really nicely. Now there are a couple of other things that I wanted to do really quickly, and one of them is, if you look at the main scene here, sorry, the main scene, the main game scene. So if I click play, see a little particle explosion happens at the top. Now the reason for that is that somewhere at some stage I forgot to destroy this in the event sheet. So the reason I am adding all these to the stage, just reminding you again, is because you want to preload your assets, especially if they're created on the fly. Now the bunnies are already here, the wall, the backgrounds, it's already here. However, something like a particle effect, because it needs to be loaded from a library memory, however it works, is when you click on a bunny and it gets loaded into memory, it means that it could be a tiny little pause or a delay where while that's happening, and it might look like a little jitter, and it makes your game look like it's not running smoothly, and you at all costs want to avoid that. So the best way of doing that is just putting all these assets onto the stage and then destroying them at the start of the layout. Okay, so again, start of layout, all we have to do here is just add a connection. Caught myself before saying condition again, and we're just going to go particles, and we're going to go destroy, and that's all. Okay, but we want to make sure that it happens before any little wait here. So let's just check it all the way to the top. As you see, I've already got symbol O, symbol X being destroyed and all that. We're just adding the particles, so, or the particles, that's one. Right, so let's do this again, and clean, nothing's happening. Perfect. Okay, so sound on and off, perfect. Let's play, go back, come back, everything's fine. I'm not noticing any bugs. Cool. Okay, let's go back again. Awesome. Okay, as far as I can tell, everything's done. Now, the only other thing that I wasn't quite sure about is because we've got our game and our timer on our black background, and wait a second, we need to send it to the back. I don't know, I've been playing around with something. No, that wants to be in the front. Okay, let's just send it to the back for now so I can play around with this. So to send back, once again, you go Command Shift and you go up arrow to send, down arrow to send back, up arrow to send forward. Okay, so if I press up arrow, it will send it in front of everything else. So Command Shift up arrow, or Control Shift on Windows, and Command Shift down arrow all the way to the bottom of the current layer. Now, if I had more layers, I would be using them, okay? But again, limitation of the free version. Now, I can move this, and what I want to do is, because of this background on the timer, because it's black, we can't really differentiate it between the current background and the timer background. So what I thought I would try is just changing the color of it to maybe like a deep red type thing. Let's see if that looks a little bit better. I am a little bit colorblind with certain shades, so if this is not red, I'm pretty sure it is, but if it's not red, you guys can comment on that later. So I thought that doing something like this might look a little bit better. Now, it kind of looks a bit too vivid for my liking. That's not what I want to do. One of the limitations with working, when you're working with limited layers, I do really like working with as many layers as I can, without, within reason, to keep everything organized. So that might look a little bit better. Yeah, it stands out a little bit more that way. Again, this is not important. It's just something you guys can do to make things look a little bit more exciting, pop out of the screen. Okay, so let's take this little spotlight, or big spotlight actually, and Command Shift up and send it back to the front. Let's play again and see what it looks like with the timer now. Okay, so now we've got the background a little bit more visible. It sort of brings it up a little bit, doesn't get lost as much, I guess. Okay, everything seems to be working well. Everything's done. We'll just click one bunny and see what happens. Game over, and sweet. Alright guys, so I think I've covered everything in this episode that I wanted to. I'm going to do one thing and click save. I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to in this episode, as far as explaining why I'm using the events, or the number. There's so much that can be improved about this, the titles, the backgrounds. Obviously, I've shown you guys how to animate the bunny on the main screen, how to randomize the ears, randomize how to change from left to right, or change animations on finishing a tween, all that sort of stuff. But we had to cut some of it out because of the limitations with the free version. Now, I am most likely going to create another simple game in the 25 event limit, just because, again, I want to make sure that everybody can have a go. If you guys got any suggestions, I've had a couple on making a tutorial series on something similar to Lightbulb, and I wasn't quite sure what people were asking for, but I think I understand, because it had a couple of thumbs up, and so I think people are wanting something possibly to do with how to structure in events, how to structure like puzzle logic, lots of sort of if else conditions type of thing, instead of just straightforward really basic action stuff, or quick fire stuff. So I'm going to try and go for something a little bit more puzzle oriented for the next one, and see what you guys think. Again, any suggestions, leave them down below, and I will see you guys next week for a new series. Who knows what it's going to be. All right, later.